Hi guys, Jurassic Junkie here, and we have a new set. Welcome to the Friday Night Rant. So yes, the set has now been updated behind me. It's took me a good week to do it, hence why there was no video last week. But if you are interested in me going through the entire process of building this on my Tinkering channel, Tinkering Tom channel even, which is my DIY channel, there is a video of that which is linked down below if you're interested. So, let me go through this all again. We're changing this setup. Things have gone wrong. I just recorded the entire thing, 30-minute rant. And what did I do? I recorded it all in 720 and it broke me. It broke me. I was like, no, you don't go through all the effort of building that to then publish at 720, even though probably you're watching this on the mobile and you won't notice any difference. So I'm going to record it again. So Uncle Junkie, what are you going to moan about this week? What you got to get off your chest? I'll tell you, and it's next generation. So next gen is around the corner and it's one of the things that I'm actually not that excited for. When I had the 360, and next generation was coming around, I was excited, and mainly because 360 had got to its life of what it can do graphically, and then when we jumped from 360 to the Xbox One, there was a leap in graphics, going from what they was producing at the end of the 360's life to the first game on the Xbox, which was Rise Son of Rome. I was like, whoa, look at this, the lighting, the water, everything looks fantastic, and I was excited. But I feel like now we've got to that point where we've got everything we can graphically out of the consoles. And then the next leap forward now is going to be resolution and frames. And this is why I'm not so excited for it. Now don't get me wrong, if I can play a game and there's an option to play it in 4K and at 60, maybe 120 frames per second, yes, I would like that. That does make things look prettier and nicer. But that's not the reason that I should be jumping to the next generation. So the first thing I just want to address, with next generation, I do think we're going to see the death of physical media. Not completely, but as good as. Mainly because I still buy physical, and the main reason I buy physical is not because I'm like, well, you don't own it, and what happens if the internet goes out, and they're all valid reasons. For me, it's I play a game, I complete a game, I sell a game. I take that money from that game, I invest it into the next game. And that's how I've always done it, and that's how I'd like to continue to do it. But I feel like gaming has now got to that sweet spot, especially with Game Pass, because if you look at the music industry, people used to pirate it because yes, it was free, but it was also easy to just go and pull down these MP3s instead of going off to a shop and buying it or ordering it online and wait for it to be delivered. And the music industry kind of caught up with it and went, well, what we're going to do is we're going to offer the MP3 slightly cheaper, or we're going to offer them for a streaming service. So you just subscribe to that and you get everything that's involved. And now we've kind of got to that point now where I'm like, I wouldn't dream about buying a CD. And there's something nostalgic having CDs and putting them in the car because that's the only thing that can play them. But the point is, I feel like gaming's got to where music is now. So with things like Game Pass being offered out, and I'm sure everyone's going to be jumping on that bandwagon and offering similar services, it's pulled somebody as super physical over to the digital realm. And I'm not particularly bothered that they've managed to do it, because I would say I think I've spent less over the last few months on gaming and potentially played more thanks to things like Game Pass, because for £10 I've got access to 200 different games. And the thing is, because there is a plethora of different things, I'm like, I wasn't sure about that game, but it's free, let's try it. Oh my god, that's my new favourite game. So I really like how they're doing it at the moment, but I do think at that cost is we're going to see physical start to disappear. So the first thing we need to address then with this next generation is the most important thing when it comes down to hardware and consoles, and that's the spec. So we've got the Xbox One coming in a massive CPU, radio, I don't give a fuck. Really do not care about the resolution, and some people will go through a fine-tooth comb and say that means it gets one extra tiny teraflop more. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what the stats actually are. Don't get me wrong, if you're a PC user, there is something beautiful about putting your hardware together to try and get it maximized, because it's a part of the process, seeing if you can get them extra juices out and overclocking. I play console because it works. That's why I buy a console. Put the disc in, I ain't gonna worry about drivers and pissing about like that. It works. So when it comes to next generation, I'm not bothered about the stats. I would like more power because I'm upgrading to a new generation. So hopefully there's going to be loaded more power. But the question is, what do you do with that power? As I've said, graphically, games have got pretty advanced lately, and they're at the point now I don't see there's going to be a big leap. But there's lots of things to be fixing around the games. And it seems like everyone's talking about resolution and frames as if this is the thing. And it's not. If it was resolution is the king of what makes a game, then you would say Fred is a better mover because it's in 4K than Die Hard because it's in 1080. And don't you dare say a bad word about Die Hard because me and you will have some words. And yes, it is a Christmas movie before anyone's asking. So then, we've got this magical bag of power just swinging there coming with next generation. What shall we use this power for? Well, for me, I remember when I first played Call of Duty, I enjoyed it, and then eventually I jumped over to Battlefield. And the reason I jumped over to Battlefield wasn't necessarily because of the actual way the guns handled, or it was a bit slower than Call of Duty, or there was bigger maps. It was destruction. On Call of Duty, if someone was camping, they hid in a building, I couldn't get to them, and I'd have to keep going through that same door, and I would be feeding him, and he would kill me. Then I went to Battlefield, and we used to just go around in a group like, right, you noob tube that wall, blow it out, we'll go running in, we'll clear him out. And then it made me go, this is a step forwards in gaming, destruction. And games do have destruction, but if you've got this big bag of power swinging around for next generation, I want you to utilize that to give me more destruction. I don't want to just see a wall blow the same way it blows every single time. I want to see things act more correctly as the would in the physical world. I want to see bricks fall and land on top of each other. I want to be able to manipulate the world around me. Now, a game from the 360 days was one called From Dust. And I remember when I first played it, I was blown away by it. And now in this game, you can pick up sand and drop it down and it will remain where you've put it. And you can build on top of it and it would then erode if water hit it. You could put lava on it. You could pick up handfuls of water and drop that. And the entire point was to just get some like equivalents of lemon people over to the other side. But it felt fantastic being able to manipulate the world around me. And like one of these things like erosion is something you just don't see in computer games. And the reason for it is it's very, very power intensive to do something like that. But we got this big bag of power, so let's start getting some erosion on the go. The other thing is as well, like things like crafting. You didn't have it so much in the yesteryear games, but it's kind of being implemented in a lot of games now, probably thanks to Minecraft, which it blew up in, but it's in things like Rust. I played The Forest, which you've got to play The Forest. But the point is, I liked how the crafting felt a bit more realistic in that one. I had to go up and chop the trees. You could see bits of wood blow out. Then when the actual trunk fell, I had to physically haul it across the map or put it in a sledge to move it across. Now, I want to see games build on that. When I blow up trees, they always fall the same kind of way. I want them to be able to fall differently. I want them to hit the ground and leave divots. I want to see twigs break off. What I want is plasticity in computer games. The definition of that is being easily shaped or molded. And this is the thing, games have kind of go, here's the map, and we'll put an item there that you can or can't blow up. It's totally up to you if you're going to hit it with the right ammo or not. But I want these worlds to be built more like Lego. So they're already ready to fall and crumble. It just depends how hard you hit them. And some games do that, but again, it may be pre-scripted. You can only blow that part off. But the idea of being able to do something like that changes gaming. Now what happens is the games was this big and then it got this big and now they're this big. So sandboxes have got bigger and bigger and bigger. And what developers are doing are chucking in these quests and side quests and fetch missions to give you something to do in their world because there's not anything else to do. Now there is some games you can go off and do some hunting, but that could be still classed as doing a quest. But the point is, not many games you can just drop you in and just go, off you go. Because you need to do something. But if the world was better and it had plasticity in it where I can actually interact with it, I'd lose myself for many hours. If I could chop down some trees, pick up some logs, throw it into a lake and it made the water levels rise, I'll be like, oh my god, I can build a dam in this game. Why do I want to build a dam? Because I can. And I would throw rocks in there to just watch the water levels change and manipulate. Now things like Far Cry, I think especially the older ones, where you could throw a Molotov and the fire would keep going depending on the wind, and it could go to a village, which would then make people all run out and escape, which was good because it meant you can tackle objectives in different ways. You could run in with a jeep, you could go in with a gun, you could silently go in and snipe them, or you could just do a fire and people would all run out. And that's the point. If you can make these worlds richer, more realistic, and just react more realistically, we can address different missions in different ways, and we don't even need the missions. Are you telling me if there was a sandbox that you could go around and blow absolutely everything up, or even better still, there's a lake that you could throw a couple of C4s down that would just make some gigantic holes in the ground, and the water would then eventually go down that, which could then go down and flood the town? You know you would have some fun just doing that for the fucks of it, not because it's actually a mission. And that's my point. With gaming, I think they've tried to make it look realistic, and they've got there. It looks, well, some games look fantastic, and they've got the voice acting up to the point where I go, yes, I could believe that's a conversation. But we're still left in this world that doesn't bounce back like it should do. Sometimes if you hit a tree, your car will drop dead. It would just instantly stop and the tree won't budge. I want the world to be more realistic, and that's what I want this big power, this big bag of power to go towards. So what I find disappointing is, out of all of the power that is going to come with next generation, people are talking about this resolution like that's the thing that's going to bring us forwards in gaming. And to me, when it comes down to a game, the first and end all, the thing that makes a game is the actual gameplay, the game mechanics, what the actual game does. And power is very rarely associated with that. Don't get me wrong, with a bit more power, you can do a bit more stuff. But game mechanics as such have kind of, some of the older games, Christ, there's a reason why I would play these two bad boys over most modern generation games, because they've got tight little game mechanics. I like how it works. You didn't need the power for it because they had a good concept for a game. So on your bill of things to do is you need to get that gameplay correct. Don't worry about the res. Then after that, I would say the second most important thing is the actual style of the game, the art style. You don't have to have super photorealistic textures in a computer game. Look at Firewatch, that's a ridiculously beautiful game. And you didn't need to have that at 4K. You don't need to have photorealistic images in there. It's just a beauty to look at. Then one of the things that a lot of game developers just skirt over is the sound of a game. Now, when you play, say, take Dead Space, back then, the sound was fantastic. There was echoes in the game. When you fired a weapon, it felt like it really kicked, because a marriage between what actually went off on screen, the sound, and the rumble of your controller, all married together, made me go, oh, that's a fucking powerful weapon. And it sold it to me. And a lot of games are quite lazy when it comes down to sounds. And the other thing regarding with sound is music. Music is so important to set a tone in a computer game. I'm going to use Firewatch again as the example. Just listening to the music of Firewatch will make me stop dead. I don't have to be playing the game. In fact, quite a lot when I'm actually streaming, we use it as backdrop music. But the second I hear it, and I know it's the same with my viewers, they're all like, oh, Firewatch. Because Firewatch left something with us. And it was because the music is now scarred into our heart. And when we hear it, we're like, oh. And it's the same with Life is Strange. You play that soundtrack to me, I'm like, oh, what a game, what a game. Because it's emotionally left me different. And all these things I've spoken so far, you don't need this big bag of power for. So the fifth thing I'd say is important is the plasticity of the game. So this is, I don't know if it's a gaming word, but this is what I'm going to use to describe it now. I want the girls, Jesus, I want the games to react to me. Don't want the girls to react to me. I want the games to react to me. And that is going to be a fantastic way to also sell this real environment to us. And it doesn't have to necessarily be real. You could have it in a sillier Minecraft world or something like that. In fact, Minecraft has it, the ability to take out blocks and water goes so far. Now build on that and just make it look a bit more realistic. And it doesn't mean all games have to be realistic. You can have your pixely ones, your indie ones, your fancy ones. But the point is, I want the world to react better with me. And then after all that, if you got any juice left in the tank, chuck the res and frames up. But it's at the bottom of the pile of things to do. So there, that's my views on what I think the power should be used for. Bit of plasticity and not resolution. But I'm now also incredibly curious, what are you looking forward to with next gen? Is it the actual lineup of games? Do you want something fresh? Do you want more indies? Do you want some more VR? Or do you want more resolution? Or do you want some of this plasticity that Junkie keeps talking about? But also I want to know, are you jumping into next generation? Like I said last time, when it was going from 360 to Xbox One, I was day one, give me that new hardware. But now, because they haven't excited me, because all they're going to do is when it gets close to the time, we're going to get these Halo trailers and all this kind of stuff, and it's going to be super polished, beautiful lighting, cutscenes, and I'm going to be like, how does it play? How does the world interact with me? Can I blow up that building? It will collapse and burn and we'll have fires. I want to know how the games work and not what they look like. So I really do think that next generation, I'm not buying on launch, mainly because it's only occurred to me that if you go out and buy a early access game, what happens is you get it at a reduced price. Why? Because it's the first version of that game. It could be buggy. We test the bugs, we find the problems, report back to the devs, they make a final product, they call it a full release, and then the game price goes back up. That's fine and it works incredibly well. But when it comes down to hardware, it's the exact opposite. The people that adopt it first and get the problems and find the bugs are the ones that have to pay the most. Then everyone else that sits back and waits a year or two gets a more refined product that has less bugs and it's cheaper. So don't get me wrong, I understand why it's going to be more expensive at launch, because over time, once they sell more units, they can bring costs down and all the other things. But the point is, I don't want to jump into something that's not excited me and potentially is riddled with bugs, because with every generation we've had issues. So I'm going to try my best not to get one on launch. In fact, I'm pretty damn confident I'm not getting one on launch unless Fable 4 is a launch title. What can I say? What can I say? Fable is one of them games for me. I just want to warm it up on a spoon and stick it into my veins. I do love me some Fable, and if we can have a Fable 4 that looks good, plays good, and it's got some plasticity in it, there's a high chance that I'll buy a console on launch. So I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. I'm curious to see what your views are about next generation. And also, because it's a Friday, if you want to see me playing a scary game and screaming, there will be a link down below for me playing on Twitch. I go online at 7. I think this video will be live around about that time, so you could jump straight from pre-recorded Junkie to some live Junkie. Anyway, I'm off. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you next Friday. Toodles! Oh yes, and look at this. What have we got down in the corner? We've got a bit of Dark Crystal. Go watch it on Netflix, and if you don't think Dark Crystal's good, just give your head a wobble. Give your head a wobble, son.